The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
You created this thing, this portal. It was a fluke. We traveled through it to another world, to another version of our house.
You okay?
Where the fuck are we?
This is our house, Angel.
We shouldn't be here. We can't be parents. I've only been there once, but Jake, the other Jake, he kept going back.
How could I do that? Who are you? It's no fun if you never win.
And welcome, everyone, to Scarefest Television. The original broadcast date is November 12th, 2021. Now, tonight, we got some stuff to do, but because a lot of it was last minute, I don't have any graphics, so it'll pop along pretty soon. You just have to listen to my voice. Our guest tonight is Mr. Alrik Bursell. Now, if you were at the Scarefest Film Festival this past year, he had a movie in there called The Alternate, which was nominated for Best Kill, which I'm going to talk about that with him. It won Best Actor for Ed Gonzalez. And honestly, anytime the Best Actor award pops up for a film, you can bet the director was doing his job. My co-host tonight is the lovely and talented Chad Harlan. Hey, Chad.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm healthy, happy, and wise, as they might say. Although, and I'm going to share this with you, this is a Hawaiian shirt, Sharon Sutton in the chat room. Yes, this is. It's muted colors, but it has little palm trees on it. Anyway, I was just going to say that I have this little thing. If I have to leave in the middle of the show, it's because I've been drinking coffee all day, and apparently my bladder forgot how to handle a day's worth of coffee. I just wanted to share that with everybody. Some things I want to go over before we get the show started. Yes, the dates have been announced for Scarefest 2022. It'll be October 23rd, or 21st through 23rd, which is the same weekend as this year. And, of course, if you come in town on the 20th, you may imbibe with adult beverages with me, because that's about the only night I get to do it, to speak of, and that's the launch party. And tickets have gone on sale. Tickets have already gone on sale for your Christmas shopping pleasure. Vendor booths are also on sale for whatever the hell that is. But yeah, we went ahead. We've got everything launched early this year. Once again, totally unprepared. And to add insult to injury, you might say, our film festival entries are already open. Yes, I had to go in today and update the listing just a little bit because Brandon, he listed it and didn't change the dates as far as some little fine things like giving me extra time to finish the judging that we'll talk about during the show. When your notification date is 2 days after the film festival ends, it's not fair to your late entries. And also, it put me in a scramble to get all the movies to the theater on time. Bonehead Weekly will be at the about 45-minute mark on the show. He'll be coming in with Halloween Kills. I'm sure we're all wanting to know Joe's take on Halloween Kills. And that's my bullshit for the beginning of the show. Okay, let's get everybody in here. Alrik, welcome to Scarefest TV.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really sad I missed the convention in person, but it looked like an awesome time.
Okay, now just so you know, we really knocked it out of the park this year as compared to previous years. So yes, you missed a really good convention, but part of the acclaim, if you will, was because it was so much better than anything we'd done before. Everything just came together and gelled perfectly, and the film festival that you were a part of, whether you were there or not, I just fucking knocked it out of the park. That's the only way I can describe it.
And I'll agree. Usually I take every chance I can to say something negative about West, but no, this year the film festival was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now everybody that's out in internet land, of course, we're talking to Alrik Bursell. His movie, The Alternate. Now, I wouldn't say that it's going to appeal to all of our hardcore horror fans who think if there's no machetes involved, that it's not a horror movie. But it does fall, and because now, and I got to throw it in there, best kill. Now, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I'm going to tell you the main kill scene in that movie is totally worth it. My wife, who did not catch the very beginning of the movie, it is foreshadowed. I'll give that spoiler. My wife, who did not catch the foreshadowing when it happened, she went, "Oh my God!" So that is compliments to the director. Now, the one thing that stuck out about the movie to me, now of course, I think I read on the entry page that from conception till the time this went out, you've been working on this like 8 years.
Yeah, it'll be 8 years in March next year. So
Okay.
it's like, a little close to 8 years.
Now, I got to ask, how many years of that were spent getting the special effects done?
Only one. but yeah, I mean, it was basically, we wrapped the movie in September of picture locked it of last year of 2020, and then from September to July, that was how long it took to get the visual effects done. And I mean, and he had started a little bit earlier than that on some stuff, but it was pretty much, whatever, 8 or 9 months to get it. But yeah, most of the time was writing, to be honest, just to get the script right and the story right.
The script was absolutely nailed down. Now, that's one thing we stopped judging on this year because I don't want to read a freaking screenplay. If I wanted to read, I wouldn't be judging movies. I'd be doing book reviews. So we kind of knocked that out. We have given it in the past. It might be something once we have our judging team a little more hammered down with people that want to read, we might go back to that. But I will say everything about the movie flowed beautifully, and it's at least as good or better. I'm going to give you no, that would have been an insult. I'm going to say it's better than most of the stuff sci-fi puts out as movies. And I'll tell you, Jerry Dandridge in the chat room, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to show the kill scene because it kind of the climax of the movie, but it had blood. It had plenty of blood. And I think that's another thing that really made it stand out. Chad, over to you.
Just give us a little background. How did you, like Wes said, the movie was great. I really enjoyed it and had some great twists in there. And the cinematography on it was outstanding. It was really enjoyable. How did you get into movie making? What's your background and what drew you to that?
So I've always loved movies my whole life. I from watching Ninja Turtles when I was 5, and then, quickly Back to the Future and Star Wars and Ghostbusters and all this stuff that I was just exposed to at a pretty young age. I just fell in love with it. It was always my favorite thing to do. But coming from Northern California and not being at all connected to anyone in the film industry, I always felt in my mind that it was something that happened far away from where I was in some magical land that I had no part of or no business being a part of. And so I didn't actually get into filmmaking until high school when I got access to a camera. And so that was the first time I actually was able to make something and make a movie of my own. And then from that moment, it was like, boom, like this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. A friend of mine had been making movies since before high school, since grade school. He asked me to shoot a movie for him. When we were all in high school, around the same time when I had gotten to that class, and that was sort of, opened me up to like, okay, yeah, I could do this. Maybe this might be a thing. And then I just followed it through college, and then graduated, and then from there got onto some sets as a production assistant and sort of built my way up. And it was interesting because like after making your own movies in high school and college and stuff, like when I got into being around people who are actually doing it, it kind of felt even further away from me in a lot of ways. Like, oh man, like I have so far to go to get to the level to do it professionally. So from there, it wasn't like another, like probably 3 or 4 years until I actually made my first like short film that was more of a professional short film, which was this film Strange Thing, which is actually the very beginning basis for what the alternate is now. So yeah, but then I got really lucky. Like I got to work on some really great movies. I worked with Francis Ford Coppola on a movie called Twixt that he made a few years back, actually many years back now, 2011. And so that was like a big thing for me to be a production coordinator on that film and get to work alongside with him and be exposed to his world a little bit. And that was a huge learning experience. And then I think kind of from there, that was basically when I started to build my team, because I was working at a production company in Berkeley called Studio B Films, and I was an equipment manager. Like right after I finished on the Francis Ford Coppola movie, I got this job just kind of handed to me because my old boss, I was an intern at that company originally, and then I was an assistant, and then he just quit. He gave us 2 weeks, and then they immediately called me and they're like, we need you to fill in while we figure out who to do this, just for 2 weeks, just for a month. And then after I did it for a month, they're like, we want you to do it for 5 years. And I was like, I can't do it for 5. I got to go back to filmmaking. I can't do this for 5 years. So basically after doing it for 2 years, I quit and made Strange Thing, my first short film. But that's where I met Jason Josepher, my cinematographer on the alternate. He was also the cinematographer on Strange Things. So we kind of stayed together through many short films and all these years. And I kind of think that was sort of important, like finding the team that I work well with, same gaffer as Strange Thing, as alternate in all my movies in between for the most part. And, it was just kind of this crew that I've kind of developed with over the years. And, getting to make my first feature with these people that I've been working with for years over many projects was really special. And I think it kind of helped us create the movie that we were able to create, like by having that kind of shorthand and this sort of long relationship where we all trust each other and we all kind of believe in what we're trying to do. And like, we all do corporate video for full time, but like we all want to be making movies as our full-time thing. So when, a movie comes together like that, it's something that people get excited about.
You can tell that everything kind of clicked when it came to this movie, because the script was good, the effects were great, the cinematography was good. So like I said, I really enjoyed it. But we're at our first break, so let's go ahead and toss to commercial, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil, and it seems like almost everyone is using it. The research is ongoing, but the apparent health benefits are overwhelming. If you're going to use CBD products, though, what brand should you buy? First, find out where the hemp was grown. Imports are flooding the market. How potent is it? Look for a brand that plainly states its concentration on the label. And look for full spectrum CBD. This means the oil contains CBD and all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and nutrients that are found in the entire cannabis plant. Look for Blue Leaf CBD oil. Blue Leaf Naturals is a Kentucky proud company. They use only Kentucky-grown hemp, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses. Visit their website at blueleafcbd.com now and use the code SMILE at checkout for free shipping.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. Our guest tonight is Alrik Bursell. Now, one thing that stood out to the judges about your movie, Alrik, was this was a storyline that we have not seen 100 fucking times. And I use that word within the context of a full sentence so that YouTube will not try to monetize my channel. But anyway, that's what stood out. Where did the idea... Let me go ahead and give everybody a synopsis of the movie if you haven't looked it up. A would-be filmmaker who's working in the video industry named Jake accidentally discovers a portal to another timeline, if you will. I want to say another dimension, but then you get in. No, I would call this an alternate timeline. And he kind of becomes enamored with the other timeline. And it follows that progression through the movie until it climaxes with a really great kill scene. Now, where did that idea come? Because the way he comes upon the alternate timeline was very, very creative.
Thanks. Yeah. So it basically, this was all based upon my first short film, Strange Thing, which is about a couple who discover a portal to another dimension in their apartment. So basically they wake up one morning and a doorway has just appeared behind a bookshelf, like out of nowhere. And then they have to decide if they're going to open the door. And then, like, you know, once they open the door and they see this doorway, they're like, okay, are we going to go through it? And then once they do, there's a monster and all this other stuff that happens. So when I was writing the script, you know, I was trying to write the feature-length script of the short film. I basically realized like halfway through that there's no way this could be my first feature. There's a monster, there's all this other stuff. Like, it's going to cost $10 million. Like, this is ridiculous. So I have to come up with a new story to make for my first movie. So I wanted to stick with the portal. I wanted to stick with the alternate dimension thing. And I was like, okay, well, if you go through the dimension, you know, into the portal, like, what could be the scariest thing on the other side of the portal? And I thought of, like, okay, it's like the scariest version, or the worst version of yourself, like the worst aspects of your own personality. So that was sort of what we started with. And then I wrote the ending of the movie first. So like the kill scene that you've been talking about, that was the very first thing that I wrote. And then from there, I was like, okay, how are we going to get to that point? And then as far as the, you know, the portal and the way that it's discovered and all that stuff, that was all based upon some research I did on string theory to try to figure out like how I can tie this portal into reality as closely as possible. So, you know, in string theory, they talk about how there's like the possibility of an infinite amount of dimensions and universes around ours at all time. And they're so small that you can never see them or you can never access them. And so like what I was thinking was like, oh, well, what if the camera captures one of these universes, one of these dimensions, one of these portals, just for a brief moment, but it captures it in the camera. And then like if you were to blow it up, explode it, make it big, put some effects on it, then, you know, maybe you could access it. So that was sort of like the basic starting point. And then to do the whole idea about the alternate life and, you know, wanting to live a better life and, you know, maybe, and then eventually this, you know, stealing and trading places with your other version of yourself, that was all kind of based on, I think, my desire to, like, you know, start into that other life, like, you know, being a videographer and like not having made a feature film and struggling to raise money for a feature. I think that was all sort of like, I wish there was an easy way to get what I wanted, but obviously that doesn't exist. And so it was just sort of fun to like imagine, like, what if it was there? Like, what would you do if that was presented to you? And then, you know, what I wanted to do with the character was like, okay, well, let's have Jake make all the worst decisions possible when presented with this thing. Like, rather than like, oh, maybe I could like look into myself and learn how to be a better person so I can actually achieve the things that the other version of me has already done. Like, oh, I can do it for myself. Rather than thinking in that way, he's like, no, I just want to take it, like, because I deserve it. It should be mine. I've worked really hard. This should be my life. Like, I'm gonna just take it for myself. And I thought the whole idea of entitlement, and, you know, like the idea that like you have to work for the things that you have, like that was sort of the main core theme for the movie as I was writing it. So that was sort of all kind of like where that all came from, and like why I thought it was so important to have the story play out in this way.
Interestingly, I saw an article this week, has nothing to do with your movie, but they have theorized that when we experience deja vu, that could be an alternate timeline merging back with our own. Mm-hmm. And then it keeps the number
down. Makes me think of the Matrix and the whole deja vu thing in the Matrix, like seeing things twice because someone changed something in the Matrix, and that's why something else pops up. And I love this idea that deja vu could be more than just your brain playing a trick on you.
Now, I will say, this might be a spoiler for the movie. My takeaway is that maybe the guy would have been better off without the bushy beard. Because to me, that and the bathrobe were the main differences in the two timeline, the characters. And now, did all of this come from your creativity, or were these like secret fantasies of yours? Like when it gets right down to it, I wish I didn't have to work so hard. I could just sit in my basement in a bathrobe and play on my computer all day. Then there was the masturbation comment from his wife, that kind of stuff.
Well, so there was originally a masturbation scene in the movie that we cut.
Well, thank you. That probably helped get you in the film festival. So go ahead.
Too over the top, and so that line was kind of, originally based off of like we had just seen him masturbate, so like it would have been funny. But yeah, I think to be honest and just completely transparent, like it basically comes from my experience as a freelancer, where some days you don't have a job, some days you didn't actually get booked on anything, and so you are just at home, like doing whatever you can, and you should be like working on your movie or like, trying to like, find a gig or like update your website or whatever. But then you find yourself just, watching YouTube videos or watching movies, or I'm going to go for a walk, I've deserved it, or whatever, So like that, like Jake's experience is like a heightened version of like the worst, me at my worst when I'm trying to do my job, and the whole part about, Jake getting like some time to work on his movie, like while his wife, did the day job. That's actually what happened in my life. Like we had worked out a deal where like, I'm going to take this time to write. I'm going to take a few months to write this movie. And then like, I'm not going to, take every job that comes, only the really best jobs and whatever. And then, that was all stuff that had happened to me, but I had worked out a little bit better in my world than it had for Jake.
Chad, over to you.
Tell us a little bit about some of the other projects you've done. Let's drive some of the viewers to some of your other work.
Sure. So Strange Things, my first, it's not my first short. I made a lot of shorts before that, but I call it my first because it's like the first one that is like super professional and that I actually submitted to film festivals and got into film festivals with. So that one's out online. It's like actually got a ton of views already, over 200,000. And so that's one that I think everyone seems to think is their favorite of mine amongst my friends and family. So that's one you can check out. And I do intend to make the feature-length version of that one day. Like I have a script for that, but I'll need like $10 to $12 million to do it. So I'm not I'm not expecting that to be my next project. I also have a short film called Brother. It was my second short film I made after Strange Thing, and this one's about a woman who is dating this guy who maybe isn't treating her the best that he could be treating her. And then her brother comes to meet him, and her brother immediately sees that this guy is a piece of shit. And by the end of the movie, he gets what he deserves, but I'm not going to say how. But that is actually a movie that we have been working on for a while. Like originally we developed it into a web series that we've been pitched around a couple places that never came together. And then now it's a feature-length script that we have the screenplay is all done. And this is most likely going to be my next project because it's the most further along. And it is a bigger budget than Strange Thing, or not Strange Thing, than the alternate, but not so much, So I think it's probably like, usually like when you talk to other indie filmmakers, it's like you want to take steps up budget wise, right? So like this one's like whatever, like under $1 million, under $500,000, like around that realm. So the next one, you want to be like, okay, like maybe $750,000, whatever, a little higher. This is probably like skipping one step. Like I probably should make one more movie before Brother, but I maybe if things go well, like I can raise the money for it and get it done. But this is about like basically taking the core of the short film and expanding it, like what happens next with this character. And it's essentially about a woman who's trying to start a new life away from her brother, who she's had a split from, who she's estranged from. And then people in her small town and in her life start to die around her. And then she suspects her brother's back and that she's going to have to confront him. So that's like the very loose synopsis for that one. But yeah, what other projects? I mean, I've got a couple other short films that probably don't have features in them. One's called The Rage. It's a psychological thriller, kind of a horror movie. It's really weird. It's not really a horror because there's no killing, but it's like more like a tripped out, like psychological thriller movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's got a feature in it.
What's drawn you to? Seems like most of your movies and your shorts so far have been kind of in the sci-fi horror realm. What kind of drew you to that?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's my favorite thing to watch overall, and I feel like sci-fi horror is a subgenre that has been done really well in the past by quite a few filmmakers, especially like in the 80s and 90s, and it's something that exists today, but I feel like there's not as many sci-fi horrors as there should be, and so I kind of felt like that was a genre I really wanted to play in. But yeah, I mean, I'm also into straight horror too, or straight sci-fi. But I think it's really like the whole concept of like there's more to the world than we can see, right? There's more going on than we would ever know as one person. And I think that like playing with that and like taking it to the extremes of like, well, what could be going on here? Like, could this person be some kind of monster or maybe an alien disguise? Like, who knows? Like, I just think those kinds of ideas, those kinds of concepts are really fun. And I just love to play in that world, and I mean, gore has always been something that I've enjoyed even at a very young age. And so getting to do some really fun, creative, gory scenes, I think is something I'm always interested in. Like, a good decapitation is something that's really special, or a nice head explosion, and so I've done a head rip before, which was pretty great. I love doing that, but I haven't done a head explosion yet. But I'm hoping in the future to get to do all those in an upcoming movie, which I'm currently writing another one, a brand new movie now that isn't based on any of my other work. And it's basically, how can I describe it? It's like if Men in Black met Night of the Creeps met Reanimator, met Rick and Morty. Yeah, I think all that together is sort of where I'm going with this crazy movie. And I'm basically trying to have it like each scene, each sequence to have like one like practical effect or something that will blow your mind, so that's what I'm working on now. And I'm trying to keep it like in the spirit of like the 80s, like kind of grindhouse exploitation films where, you could do all these amazing effects and everything, but you're not like spending like, $20 million doing it, like where you're getting really scrappy and just like, getting people together to make something really cool, and not having a huge crew, like have a small crew, like 10-person crew, but like put money towards the special effects and just really, have some fun and blow some shit up,
I'll definitely be looking forward to that one coming out. Right now, I think we're up to our next break. Let's toss over to that, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, they will do their best to assist you.
Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
And just a quick reminder, everybody, the Central Kentucky Mystical Market is this weekend. This weekend at the Clarion Hotel and Conference Center on Newtown Pike, Lexington, Kentucky, centralkentachymysticalmarket.com. And it's worth the trip just to come because I will be doing my really bad tarot readings this weekend. All right, back to our guest. Couple quick ones here for you before, because I want to hear about your podcast. But I do want you've been teasing us. Can you share with us how much did it actually cost you to put this movie together?
I don't really want to share that information until we secure distribution, which we're close to locking that in. But yeah, I would just say it's well under $1 million. In the $500,000 realm.
Okay, well that's fair enough. The now can you tell me how you raised it? I mean, normal channel, Uncle Bob
that I'm happy to share. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have anybody with money in my life in my my direct network. So this actually, when I said the script writing took the longest, I think that and the fundraising together were the biggest challenges. But basically my whole process was this. Like, I started with my friends and family. I made a list of everybody I know and everybody that they know that I think they would be willing to introduce me to. And then I just started to go down the list, and I would email or call them and ask them to go to lunch with me. And then I would give them a little bit of a preface as to why. And then I would sit down with them and I would pitch them the movie. And I did that with everyone in my direct network that would listen to me and that would take a meeting. And I raised, let's say, like, maybe 10% of the budget that way, maybe 15. And then from there, I, went to AFM, the film market in Santa Monica, and I pitched it to a bunch of companies, came back empty-handed. But my entertainment lawyer, who I had just hired once I'd started raising money, he introduced me to a producer, the one producer he knew who did sci-fi or genre films. And then he met with me after I got back from AFM. He would read the script, he liked it, and luckily he signed onto the project by the end of the year, and that was in the end of 2017. And I'm talking about my producer Jeff Allard, who has produced over 24 movies at this point, including the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes from the early 2000s. So that was like his first those two movies back to back were his first big projects, and then since then, he's just done like a ton of horror movies, a bunch of genre films. I think he's done sci-fi before, but like I think I'm like probably the second sci-fi movie maybe that he's made. And so once he was on board, then I was able to go back to my network. Some of the people who like maybe said, "Oh, I'm not really ready to introduce you to this wealthy person I know." But once I had the producer on board with the credits and the proof of like, yes, like we're going to make this movie, then I got a lot more meetings with people who were willing to, write bigger checks. And then we got, probably almost halfway doing it that way. And then by the end of middle of 2019, I had made a teaser trailer for the film, just kind of in hopes to like raise more money, not necessarily doing a crowdfunding campaign. And that, we raised a little bit more with that, but it really wasn't like the big game changer that I thought it was. Cause like I had really exhausted my network. There was like no one else to talk to really, because we'd already talked to everybody. And then we did the crowdfunding campaign at the end of 2019, and we raised $20,000 through that. And then while that was happening, we also were continuing to reach out to people and try to bring in investment. So we basically raised the rest of the budget that we needed to shoot and did the crowdfunding campaign at the same time. And then we secured our last chunk of money, the last like 10,000 or 15,000 that we need to actually shoot like 2 weeks before we shot. So the whole thing was scheduled. It was all ready to go. I was telling Jason, like, it's 95% sure it's going to happen. And he's like, I need to know for sure. Like, I got to take jobs if you're not going to do this. And then I was able to tell him 2 weeks, like, we got it, we're going, it's happening. So it really came down to the wire, but luckily we were able to get it done.
Okay, now on to the other fun stuff. Okay, first of all, everybody, if you're playing the home version of our game, his website is alrikbursell.com. That's Alrik, A-L-R-I-K, Bursell, B-U-R-S-E-L-L.com. Nothing fancy about it, what I call a fortunate web address. But alrikbursell.com. There you'll find links to some of his other projects. And so I just want to throw that out there. And it's got a link to the podcast that I did get to listen to. What do you do on your podcast? Tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast is called Making Movies is Hard. It's the podcast about the struggles of being an independent filmmaker. We've been doing it for over 5 years now. We have 337 episodes, I believe, out for people to listen to. And we basically talk to pretty much anyone and everyone in indie filmmaking, from writers, directors, producers. We've had agents on, we've had makeup artists, special effects makeup artists, sound people, like kind of PAs. We've really covered the whole thing. But the whole goal of the podcast is to like kind of demystify the making of films and sort of talk about how people actually get it done. Ask the same questions that you're asking me about, like fundraising and budget, and how they actually brought their projects to fruition, and like what they did that was able to make their movie, actually happen. And I'm sorry to say that no one says the same thing. It's all different. Everybody has a different way that they come to make their film. Although a lot of it happens to be like, family or friends with money. That's a big one. Like a lot of people, if they have a rich uncle, or, someone who's willing to just toss them, $50,000 or whatever and get their movie made. That's sort of a lot of how it comes together. And then the website for it is www.makingmoviesishard.com. Episodes drop every Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also have a YouTube page, Making Movies is Hard, and you can find us on all social media at MMIH Podcast. So yeah, check it out. My co-host Liz Manischel is also a filmmaker. She's done 2 features, and she's working on making her first horror feature now. She's jumped into genre. She's joined the genre family. It's great. So I'm excited that, my co-host is also a genre freak like me.
I do. I want to follow that up a little bit with one question about the fans and the genre freaks. Our experience at Scarefest is that there is no more loyal fan base than horror fans. They're absolutely fantastic. That being said, I wouldn't poke any of them with a stick. They're also absolutely rabid about what they love. And I mean, just, if somebody remakes a movie that they're in, that they thought was the greatest thing in the 80s, when you go around to these film festivals, I don't want you to, I'm not asking you to badmouth the fans, but I do want to know does that play into your mindset that I've got to appeal to these horror fans and not piss them off?
Yeah, so basically this goes to being a fan, right? Like, to being somebody who loves movies, and like when something happens in a film that it doesn't seem right, is the one who's yelling at my screen and stamping around my apartment and talk about it for days with my wife about how could they possibly do that? What were they thinking? So coming from that sort of mindset, I really do think about the fan when I'm working on the film, but I start with me as the fan first. And then I just think, okay, like if I love this, if I'm digging this, there's going to be other people out there who are going to dig it too. And like the ending, for instance, yeah, I couldn't tell you how many people, when I pitched this movie to like executives, like, managers, agents, everybody, like production companies, everyone was like, I love it. But this ending, I don't know. Why does he have to die like that, or whatever? Spoiler. Why does it have to end this way? And I'm like, well, but that's the payoff. That's what we're building towards here, people. And I feel like there's so many people who just don't get that. But that's because they're not the genre fan. They don't understand genre filmmaking in that way, and that's okay. Like, you don't, not everyone has to love it, but this movie is for people who love this kind of stuff and like eat up the unexpected and the over the top, I guess I should say. So yeah, I try to keep that in mind, and to that point, like, I mean, you know, this is like a sci-fi horror thriller film, but I mean, I would really like, almost, it's hard to call it a horror film because the only real moment of horror comes kind of near the end. I mean, it's very tense, and
well, that's because you cut the masturbation scene, but you know.
But yeah, so I mean, for your true horror fans out there, don't expect, like you said earlier, machetes or slashings and 10 kills or high kill count. This isn't that kind of movie. This is you know, like, yeah, more of a build up to one amazing moment. So if people enjoy the ride, they'll get a reward.
I do think it falls into that. I don't even know what the name of it is. I guess it would maybe. No, thriller wouldn't be the right subcategory, but there is a foreshadowing, a foreboding all the way through the movie that you can feel this is going to go south. This is going to go south in a bad, bad way. And so compliments there. And yes, horror fans, you will still, it's, even if a couple places you say, well, I want to see somebody die. Trust me, it's worth it. Chad?
Tell us a little bit more about where else what the future of the alternate is. I know it's now at the Scarefest Film Festival last year. Where else is it going to be appearing, and where can people look for it?
So right now it's live on the CineQuest CineJoin Film Festival that's going on, I believe, until the 23rd of, or maybe the 18th of November, but it's live right now. You can rent it, you know, on their website. I can give you guys the link to that. Next, it's going to the Studio City International Film Festival on the 18th of November. Then after that, it's going to go to the Shockfest Film Festival, which I believe is either that weekend or the weekend after. Then we're at Tampa Bay Underground Film Festival in Florida on the weekend of December 3rd. Then we're doing the other world. Oh, I can't say that one yet. I almost said it. I didn't say it. Then we're doing Soho Horror Film Festival in London in December, and then New York Horror Film Festival also in December. And then yeah, I don't think I can say the other one yet either. So those two secrets, but the rest are out in the world for people to see. But yeah, and then we're, like I said, we're working on securing our distribution deal, and so probably in probably mid 2022, the movie will be out for people to buy and to rent and to consume. And I'll be hitting it hard with promotion when that happens. So you'll be seeing my face all over, hopefully.
Well, and I'll go ahead and tell people again that if you get the chance to see it, make sure you do. It's great work. We're just about up to the next break. We'll go ahead and toss to that, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah, everybody.
All the professionals at Wildcat Moving today. Wildcat Moving has been the top-ranked moving company in Kentucky since 2012. Top 5% in the country. Our movers are professionally trained and motivated by the highest paid wages in the industry, ensuring diligence and care to your items. Tired of moving stress? Call the best. Call the team at Wildcat Moving today.
Hey, Scarefest, this is Joe Lewis. This week, I want to talk about something really controversial that has this country torn right down the middle, as far as I can tell. You got about 45% of the people hate it, 45% like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then you got 10% who just don't give a shit. I'm going to talk about Halloween Kills. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. Halloween's not my favorite John Carpenter film. It's a great film. It's the second best slasher film ever made. The first is called a movie called Psycho. But when they came up with the idea of doing a Halloween sequel and just basically what they call retconning, or just going, not talking about any of the other ones made, I thought, well, that's shit. They've made all the rest of them. So the movie came out in 2018, and I loved it. I didn't get to see it in the theater. I just had a son. But I finally watched it, and I loved it. I went out and bought it, and I was like, I can't believe Danny McBride, Eastbound and Down and wrote such a good script. I loved it. It was so well made. It was right there in my top 3 or 4 Halloween films. And I was really excited, you know, that they're going to do 2 more. I thought, I understand that they make a lot of money. Well, they're going to do Halloween Kills. And then next year we get Halloween Ends. Well, I watched Halloween Kills. And here's the thing. I don't understand how it could be that much different, because it's the same writers, it's the same director, it's the same actors. It's so why so much of it takes place in a hospital like Halloween 2 is beyond me. So Halloween Kills picks up immediately like Halloween 2 with the events of somehow Michael Myers. And then we get a lot of actors reprising their own roles from the original movie, which is cool, except for the kid that played Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle is played by that kid from Weird Science, Anthony Michael Hall. And he's now a grown man who's 50 years old. But Anthony Michael Hall plays Tommy Doyle, who's one of the little original kids in the movie. Every year they celebrate that they lived and other people who lived. And then the town is just sick of it. And they're going to go after Michael Myers. And he picks them off in different groups. And then there's a whole sequence where a mental patient's loose in the hospital and they think it's Michael Myers. And I did a whole presentation about this in grad school, talking about groupthink. It's a groupthink thing, mob mentality, you know, one person's smart, a group of people stupid. This movie is so flawed. So tonally different than the other one. There's a lot more blood. There's a lot more kills. If that's all you care about is blood and kills, then this is a movie for you. But if you wanted a plot with some great acting, a lot of people in this to me are just phoning it in. Jamie Lee is sidelined because, you know, a 60-year-old woman would be sidelined who had been shot and stabbed and killed and beat up, you know. That's one of the few things that makes sense. I just didn't enjoy it. In fact, I kept looking around going, is this it? This is bad. This is awful. It's clearly setting it up for Halloween Ends. I hope Halloween Ends is a little bit better than this. Maybe if I watch them all 3, it'll play together well once it's all done. But I don't think so. I think I'm just not going to like Halloween Kills no matter what. And I'll tell you the truth, I'm not so excited about Halloween Ends now. I know I'll get more Halloween movies. I know this is a franchise and they're just taking my money and your money as well. And they can't just think of new things. So we have, I've seen a Halloween movie, I'll go see another one. That's the reason they do remakes. They don't have to brand something. It's already there. This has been Joe Lewis. Skip Halloween Kills. But you've probably already seen it. You're probably already a Michael Myers fan. And about 40% of you are going to hate me for having this controversial opinion. But the other 40% of you are going to say, he's right. It sucked. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. Don't watch Halloween Kills. Don't.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. We were just chatting behind the scenes about some stuff. I want to go back to something you mentioned. We backed out of it, this part of our film festival. Mainly, honestly, it was because of the time to get it done right. But now, as a filmmaker, I did have some of the movies I was kind of on the fence about. We put them on a private streaming service and sold people the privilege to help us judge those movies. I had only had one filmmaker complain about it. And that was mainly because we left it up too long. It wasn't that it wasn't foreshadowed. But now, okay, you mentioned the one film festival that, that you're allowed to go in and I guess pay an admission fee or rental or whatever. How, as an independent filmmaker trying to get distribution rights, how do you feel about a film festival offering your movie as part of a film festival streamed to its attendees for a limited time?
Yeah, I guess I have a kind of a conflicting thought about it. Like, I think it's great because it's something that you can promote as a filmmaker, and it's a way that your audience can see the film early, and get a preview of it. I don't like it when they don't do proper security and they don't, keep it up for a pretty short time. Like some festivals will keep it up for 2 weeks or 3 weeks even. Mm-hmm. I think that's a little long, but if it's like 1 week or a weekend, I think that's fine. Although it's funny, like if it's a weekend, it kind of feels too short because then, Monday rolls around. They're like, oh yeah, is that film festival still showing your movie? And you're like, oh no, you missed it, man. But so I think 1 week, that's like a good time. But yeah, no, I kind of like it because it's a way that people can enjoy the film even if they can't go to the festival. And I think it just brings more promotion opportunities to the filmmaker. And I think it, probably, I don't know what film festivals feel about it, but I mean, I've been hearing from certain film festivals that it's going to be a part of their film festival, COVID or not, right? Like this whole virtual screening thing is like another avenue for them to bring eyeballs to their festival. So I don't know. I guess I'm for it overall, but I think that it just needs to be done right. And a lot of festivals are doing it right. And so I just think that just make sure that you have good security, that you have a good way for filming, for the audience to access the films.
If we do it the way we talked about doing it, we actually meant to stream a lot of our entire convention. But honestly, we're so picky about the way we do things. So it just came down to the wire. We just didn't allow enough time. Now that's some backstory, for any, would-be filmmakers watching this year. We made some mistakes in the film festival, mostly timing mistakes in that we wanted to give as much time for entries as we could. So we ran it right up to the 1st of October. Now that was cutting us pretty short on getting it into a real theater the way we wanted to. And then on top of that, dumbass me put the notification thing when we tell the filmmakers they've made it like 3 days originally, or actually it was like the next day, and I had to change that. So in other words, I was supposed to have all the films in, have them all watched, and then judged, and then the winners announced within like 24 hours originally, and it could not be done. So this year we've changed it. We've moved the deadline back, everyone, to the 1st of September, with the notifications going out the end of September. So that'll be some things we've polished on our end. But one thing we have thought about doing now, if we do it, we would probably stream it where, you had to, you have to buy a ticket to do it. And that we wouldn't offer it though on demand. It would be more of a, if you're going to sit through our film festival, you're going to sit through our film festival. That type thing. So, and that, I think that also cuts down the opportunities of somebody just downloading your particular film. We'll make it as difficult as possible, but I do know that's something that, that people, and I can't say I blame you because you put your heart and soul into this, but we do want to make it more accessible to more people because, well, I mean, we're in Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, we had a huge crowd come from all over the country, but I dare say once the numbers are counted, we didn't get a lot from California or Washington State. There, I said it.
That's funny.
So I wanted to fill you out because that is, like I said, that is something now that you can kind of dispassionately talk about it with me, because this doesn't. You're not going to have the next movie probably ready by September, are you?
I wish. That would be amazing if I was so lucky. But no, it'll probably be at least a couple of years.
Well, we look forward to having you back. I'll go ahead and throw that out there.
No, thanks so much.
Now, you mentioned, on the podcast you talk about the independent filmmakers. Do you feel like I sometimes, when I did a paranormal show, I felt like I was doing a lot of inside baseball stuff. In other words, I wasn't sure how broad my appeal was, because if you didn't believe in any of that stuff. So do you feel like your podcast is laser targeted, or do the stories that you all get to share appeal to the broader audience, like might be sitting in my chat room right now?
Yeah, I mean, we have people who listen who aren't filmmakers, who are just artists, people who are just film fans, listen to the show. I feel like there's a very DIY nature, to the show. So I feel like that aspect of it is interesting, but it's also just, a way to discuss like how people get their art made and how people create art in general. And the art that we focus on is films and television shows, but there's also a lot about the business, a lot about distribution, a lot about how films start and how they get to where they are, So I just think there's a lot that people can find interesting. So if like you listen to I don't know, like any other film review podcast, you know, or even Mark Maron's podcast. I feel like there's a lot of connective tissues between that kind of podcast and our podcast. Because, you know, my co-host and I, we do talk to each other about what we're doing as filmmakers and what's going on. And we do a segment about news. So we talk about news and film and our take on it. And we have, you know, interactive sections with our segments with our listeners. So we read listener questions and, you know, that kind of stuff. So we bring the audience into it. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's not exclusively to filmmakers, but I feel like filmmakers tend to be our main audience in general.
Now I'm going to close the show out with a little, I guess you'd call it business. For those watching this, listening to it, if you're a Scarefest volunteer, one thing we're going to be asking at the first official Zoom meeting of the year, among all of you, we're going to form a film festival committee. Basically, we're going to need more judges. We felt like this year, especially on some of the, well, actually it went two ways. We had some judges that really tore up Jack early in the season, and you could tell by their judging results, so they didn't turn in a lot of the later entries. And then a lot of our later judges that we added, seeing that problem, they started at the end of the list and worked their way forward. And I'm not sure all the films got a proper judging, viewing, however you want to put it. I think on average, we did pretty good. But I would like to see more of that. So actually, so if you're watching and you're a Scarefest volunteer, think about whether you would like to devote a goodly chunk of your summer to watching independent horror films and helping us judge them. And it's we use kind of a scoring system, and that won't change much. Basically, the way these films, we did it for our festival, was we had judges turn in their favorite films in each category, and the ones that appeared on more than one list, pretty well, that were your the nominees meant at least one, but your winners, I think very few were separated by more than one vote. And if there was a tie, then that was up to me. So we're going to do that. Then the other thing for everybody watching, we are looking for another co-host for Scarefest TV. No, none of the co-hosts that you're used to seeing are going anywhere that I've been told about. I'm hoping Chad and Cece stick with me through thick and thin and all that good stuff. But I'm wanting to get more into the production side of it and do some of the cute little segments, because now one thing you missed by not coming to Scarefest, Alrik, I was in charge of the film festival. I was the media director, and I spent all 3 days in cosplay. And I'll bet you don't get that at some of at these other festivals where your contact, your main guy in charge of your success or failure is wearing a rabbit costume one day.
No, that's awesome. I also like cosplay. I'm not that great at it, you know, but like I've been to Star Trek conventions. I do a pretty good, Commander William Riker, you know, so I definitely relate to that.
Well, see, my thing is now I love superhero movies, and when I go to these conventions, I love seeing people deck out in characters from movies and anime and all this stuff. But me, I just come up with a costume, and then I create a character that matches the costume, and that way I can go any direction I want. And
that's awesome.
But
that's better, I think.
it made for some real. I'll put it this way: Brandon Griffith, who owns the Scarefest, when he saw my second day cosplay, which was Captain Jack Rabbit, incidentally, the pirate rabbit, my boss at Scarefest goes, "Oh my God," and just walks away. That was so. Anyway, but yeah, he's throwing around he's excited now. We had such a great year, and he's wanting to go to these other conventions and basically see if we can learn anything from other conventions. I mean, that's how a lot of this gets started, but I just wanted to go ahead and make the public announcement that we will be looking for another co-host on the show, or maybe two, who knows. and I'll be posting about it on Facebook. And basically, you will have to send me an audition tape because not everybody can be like Cece and meet me in a bar when I'm about 3 sheets to the wind and, just say, wow, you're hot and you know what horror is. I lucked out. I lucked out on that one. Chad, on the other hand, followed the normal way to become a Scarefest co-host, and that's just to be here.
Casting couch.
Yeah, casting. It was the normal Scarefest volunteer way, which is just to show up, keep showing up, and then eventually somebody will give you a job.
He gave me a business card.
Is that how it all started? But anyway, so I just want to throw those out there. We're at the end of the show, everybody. I just want to thank Alrik Bursell for coming on and telling us all about his film. We're going to be doing more of these segments over the next month or two. Some of our winners from the Scarefest Film Festival for 2021. And once again, don't forget, if you're watching this and you're an independent filmmaker, guess what? Our entries are open. And it's like filmfreeway.com/thescarefest.
If you're not sure, submit, because it's a great festival. Just Wes is awesome. Everyone's awesome. So, as a filmmaker, speaking to the other filmmakers who are like, should I submit to this film festival? If you're a horror filmmaker, yeah, do it for sure.
Well, thank you. That is high praise, especially after last year when we had all kinds of problems. Just one being that we tried to actually stream the movies using convention center internet, which I will never, ever do again. This time I did download everything and had it download. We still had glitches, but that's because the theater didn't tell me there were any problems until I'm already an hour from home, set up in a hotel. And
I'll just say this, every film festival has glitches. I don't think I've been to a film festival this year that didn't have at least some sort of glitch, so yeah, everyone works through those. And
now one thing you missed by being there, of course, some of the film festivals, I'm sure we're not the only one doing it, but the one thing that our film festival entrants that did get to come, being able to see your work, your artwork, your passion project on the big screen makes a big difference over the basement of the Holiday Inn. So just want to put that out there. So everybody, thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with more Scarefest TV. And thanks again, Alrik, for stopping in. And thanks, Chad, for co-hosting tonight.
Always a pleasure.